Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Metaverse, Internet, people. Hello, how are you? My name is Chris. I am with StreamCatcher Society, and we are here for episode 7 of our live show. Still getting our sea legs, so please bear with us. We still have some equipment to hook up and some connections to make. We're doing some investigation into the best ways to pipe in live feeds and all that kind of stuff because we have all the capability, but 2 hands. So we're working on all that. But today we just thought we'd kind of cover the lay of the land and do some history. I did have one previous video where I had an overlay up there, and it was kind of covering some of the video and different things I was showing with magazines and that kind of thing. But I did want to cover some of the history of where I came from and where I believe I have a voice in this space, this new Web3 NFT crypto meta space, whatever you want to call it, coming up and being a part of it right now, and my history in that. And I think that knowing the history of the Web 2 era, the Web 2 crash, the things that happened with consolidation, coming into the 2022s, the 2020s, whatever, we are accelerating quite quickly on a number of tracks in VR technology, in hardware and software, in internet capabilities, spreading out the network, we'll get to that, and all kinds of different things. So it's a lot of fun, it's very interesting, but there's a lot of hype as well. A lot of hype. Tons and tons of it. Tons of buzzwords, tons of people not understanding truly what it is they're dealing with, or if they do understand it, they're so focused in on it and maximalized on it, whatever it may be, particular crypto or whatever it is, that they're not seeing the forest for the trees. So sometimes it's good to get a bigger picture, and that's kind of what we want to do today about, what is Web3? What is decentralized? What is the metaverse? All of these questions, they have fairly simple answers, but people tend to want to make them complicated for any number of reasons, profit as well as other things, but also because they don't understand them. So let's try and get some understanding here today. Just briefly, I wanted to go over real quick. We have our YouTube channel up, and you can see we have a whole 6 videos online. So we are doing quite well, all things considered. We're getting there. So we're going to be building our catalog, but please feel free to check out the videos on here. We're over 100 views. Amazing. So as we start to do reviews and different things that will have a little bit more bearing on the issues of the day, live interviews and that kind of thing, we definitely expect our numbers to rise up. So that is our YouTube channel. Please check us out, StreamCatcher Society. We do have our website, which is currently right now a page where you can sign up, but we are finishing some final frameworks and just making sure that there's not problems and that kind of thing on the website before we launch it. And it will be, initially, it will be an information repository, streams we catch, things that we're interested in, and we will be providing that all to you for free, at least initially. And as we start to get memberships and do different things, and we move along towards creating a true society, we will be token gating things behind NFTs and that kind of thing. But until then, we were glad to share our knowledge with you and let you understand a little bit more about us. So that's kind of the way we see it right now. So let's see here, just one second. Okay. So, keep on saying that word. Web3, decentralized, the metaverse, cryptocurrency. Why do I have anything to say about this? Well, I have personally been involved in technology since I was literally 7 years old. My father was a programmer, went deep into computers and computer graphics, and did all kinds of things, including in my later formative years, being the editor of 3D Design magazine, the conference manager, the kind of head of the conference kind of person, but again, the team, amazing, all the marketing, all the conference people, publishing, everybody. I loved working at CMP. They were great people. And I have just done a lot in different areas of CG and helping artists with SIGGRAPH and the Guerrilla Gallery, which became the studio, working with people doing large format printing, Gclay, doing rapid prototyping, just all kinds of different stuff. So when the NFT space came around in particular, you know, I'd been following crypto for many years, and for, you know, financial reasons, didn't have the ability to really invest. Probably would have bought Bitcoin, you know, earlier on, but I didn't really know all about it. You know, I definitely didn't dive into it until probably 2016, something like that. And when I started to get interested in it, that's when, you know, after a couple of years we bought and we started getting involved. And then of course NFTs hit, and then you have a whole way of proving digital ownership on blockchains of digital content. And it was like, wow, that's interesting. So that kind of, you know, that definitely changes the game for a lot of things. And what a lot of people in the NFT space right now are going around doing it is they're trying to sell their art. A lot of them are artists or musicians, and they're trying to create their own businesses. They're finding out, you know, in a lot of ways how difficult that can be to be their own marketer and promoter and all that other stuff while they're actually creating content. And so that's kind of the position that I find myself in as well. And I want to create frameworks and structures, business services, and different things that will help me get back to what I want to do and what I love, which is create content. So with Web3 and the convergence of NFTs and everything else, a lot of people are sitting there and they're going, well, I'm an NFT artist, right? I'm an NFT. Well, no, you're not an NFT artist. You're an artist who happens to use NFTs as the medium by which you sell your art. And that's great because, you know, again, provenance, and we get to the 10% commission. That's a big thing that we should talk about. And I definitely would like to have more guests on to talk about these things. So instead of just hearing me rant, but I do have some information. So we are definitely in a new era of digital rights management, of understanding digital ownership a little bit better, of having that provenance on the blockchain. I think that a lot of people ask, you know, well, what are NFTs good for? You know, right off the bat, I would say that initially, if you mint an NFT that's your artwork, especially if you can prove it with backup files or whatever, but even then, if you mint your artwork to the blockchain, you know, possession, at least in the past, possession is 9/10 of the law. So, and not financial advice, do your own research, but the way that you can, you know, actually it's a kind of copyright in my opinion. And I would love for a legal expert, a real lawyer, to tell me that that is true or not. But I consider a time stamped receipt of something being created, you know, not necessarily created, but created and minted to the blockchain. And we got Walt Disney is calling me. Hold on just one second. Yes, Walt. Good. I'm live on YouTube right now.
Oh my God, I am so sorry.
No problem. I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
All right. Hey, shout out to Walt. He gets a free shout out. Part of the pirate crew, the Theory Roam guys that I'm working with. And I'll definitely be showing some of that art soon. I'm working really hard on getting some cards finished, some 3D cards and some other things, and doing that in Cinema 4D, and having a lot of fun doing that. And finalizing some logo stuff for merchandise and that kind of thing. And it's going to be really great. So anyway, back to Web3 and provenance. So if you mint on the blockchain, that kind of proves ownership. Now, you know, of course, there's going to be, I'm sure, and there have been, I've had my art stolen that I not minted, and somebody minted it to the Ethereum. Well, actually, they put it up for sale on OpenSea, so lazy mint. But they were banned and everything. You know, but if you mint artwork to the blockchain, that basically is saying, you know, I own this. This is mine. I'm minting it, and then it's time stamped. And so it is a form of copyright, I believe. And do not take me up on that, but I'm going to look into it further as well. But I believe that it does provide some sense of ownership. And then the ownership, of course, moving on into perpetuity, where you have actually rights via smart contracts or programs that are attached to these that can allow you to set your royalty fee for secondary sales into perpetuity. And there's a number of marketplaces that we'll get into as well that are causing problems in that area. But the idea is that you're going to be able to create your artwork, digitally sign that it's yours, mint it to the blockchain, as an NFT, and then be able to sell it and give whatever rights you want to it. So I'm sorry, everything's beeping all over the place. Give whatever rights you want, to the purchaser. So you could be selling a limited edition, say of 10, and you put 10 up on Tezos or Ethereum or whatever, and you could have no rights whatsoever. They could just own the digital image. It could be like a collectible, and you could retain all the rights. You could do a one-to-one where you actually put the high-res file inside of unlockable content, basically a link. When the person buys the NFT, they get a link to that high-res image. There's any number of ways that you can do it. But again, it's great for artists. It provides a new way of buying and selling art, and it also, of course, leads into things like memberships and collectibles and that kind of thing, digital collectibles, which they're a thing. So you have to pay attention to them. And some people also consider, like I've said before, that if you mint something to the blockchain, the earlier you mint it to blockchains, depending on if they're going to, of course, survive or not, is that that provides a little bit more value as well, because you've got something minted earlier to the blockchain. It's kind of like having an earlier sports card or things like that. That's what I'm guessing is kind of the feeling out there that I'm getting. So we've got all of these things, converging. We've got cryptocurrency. We have Web3. Sorry, let me backtrack on that. We have cryptocurrency. We have NFTs. And then, the buzzword ever since 2018 for the new generation, because of Ready Player One, is the metaverse. Coined by Neil Stephenson and Snow Crash in 1992. Whoever corrected me on that in Twitter Spaces, thank you. I thought it was 94. But by 96, we were all sick of hearing, the word metaverse, because it wasn't doable at the time. I mean, we were doing great graphics. There was, Disney and SGI were working on this big headset that you could do this Aladdin VR ride in, and it was, and it was Nintendo 64 graphics with the same fidelity and feel that you would have from an Oculus Quest, or maybe even a little bit better. But it was huge. It was mounted on the ceiling, came down with big stalks on the top of the headset, and they were running it on SGI supercomputers. So these technologies haven't advanced too far. When we look at the Android phone slapped to your face, kind of meta quest, that's not the killer app. We're waiting for something else. But anyway, so the metaverse is something that the new generations are finding out about or learning about, that they're introducing, and it's a 3D layer on top of the web. It is a metaverse is Roblox. It is Fortnite. A metaverse inherently is nothing more than a virtual environment that you can interact in. So a 3D virtual environment that you can go into and interact with. And if you look at something like Spatial.io, which is working on doing metaverse stuff, in 3D and in VR, most of the people even still probably on Spatial are doing it through a web browser. So, shades of Second Life in 2003. This stuff has been around for a while, but what they're pushing now is a kind of a 3D layer on top of the web. So we're, because of the bad bug that will not be named, we all started working at home. We all started not commuting so much, and they got us used to that idea. And the next step is you want to do work, virtually. You're working virtually now, so you actually want to do it virtually, and to have the headset or to have the kind of things that, as you see, I've got some Stable Diffusion images running back here that I've rendered. If you've got the devices and they're ubiquitous and the bandwidth is there and the graphics are great and there's no motion sickness and all the other ifs, we'll eventually have the Oasis or some version thereof, and probably multiple ones that you can jump through and jump into, because he who controls the pipes makes the money and controls the worlds, right? So the metaverse itself is kind of up for grabs right now. There's lots of smaller NFT projects and different things. Not lots, but there's a number of them that have made their own metaverses. Tropyland and Wilder World. There's quite a few of them. that I can think of that are building, virtual worlds online that you can play in. And of course, there's, Decentraland and some of the bigger ones that you've heard of. And, I think we put like $500 into Decentraland. Not at the height of the bull, but, before. And it's down, of course, 80% like everything else, if not more. So the metaverse and all of these technologies that people are talking about generally are kind of putting a video game layer on top of the internet, right? And everything we're building, again, that's one thing. We're talking about buzzwords, right? We're talking Web3, decentralized, metaverse. A lot of these, they're real, of course, and people need to stop ascribing magical powers to them, but they need to be properly defined. So like decentralized, for example, when you talk about a decentralized network in a pure logical sense, I think of something like an air gap network that's not connected to the internet. That's a, decentralized network. So if you're talking about Bitcoin or Ethereum, those kinds of things, especially when Ethereum was proof of work, you could look at it as a decentralized database for sure, because you have the database copied and brought around to multiple machines, graphics cards processing it, all these different things, and they form consensus via the internet. So decentralized, to me anyway, is just kind of a myth. It doesn't really exist. And when I think decentralized, though, because it is a word, right? It has meaning. What is decentralized about what's going on is that I believe that the hotspots are moving out. They're the server load and capacity that has been centralized in a lot of places around the world, salt mines in Utah, San Francisco, LA, Beijing, London, wherever they may be. A lot of that network capacity is now being built out in other networks and connected to the internet. So the decentralization of the internet is kind of the spreading of that capacity, in my opinion. And this is just from my observation and the things I've seen over the past, 45 years of being involved in technology in one way or the other. So when you look at decentralized, you kind of have to say, okay, what is decentralized about it? We've got decentralized finance, where people, multiple pools of money are coming in from different places. DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, are supposed to vote on different proposals to move, whether it's a cryptocurrency or a project, forward. There are unique aspects of this segment, but Web3 to me really is the social component that is the metaverse that's kind of being built right now around us on the internet. So everything from Twitter Spaces to Clubhouse to some of the VR environments that are being built right now, even, if you would consider them more beta kind of things, those things are Web3. The connections that we're able to make, the globalization of the internet, the capacity with, eventually with satellite, with Elon's thing, with Starlink, with the spreading of 5G, with the ubiquity of mobile phone usage around the world. People are connecting more and more and more, and we're getting this global economy. We're getting actually a spreading out of the wealth as well, which is, I believe, intentional, where the wealth is being spread out away from Western countries and into poorer countries because of this, because we're dealing on a global scale, moving cryptocurrencies around, through every country, and dealing with NFTs and selling items back and forth now in a global marketplace. That's what I think of as Web3. And so it's a convergence of the kind of social web, the connectivity, and eventually, things like the metaverse and VR and AR, I think, is going to be the first real killer app, when you're able to walk down the street and have Minority Report style overlays happening around you for any given reason, and be able to turn them on and off at will or whatever. I think that's going to be a truly remarkable time for content creators and for people who are makers to bring some amazing experiences to people. So we're very excited about the possibilities of things like NFTs and all those things, but we also kind of feel the technology is a little boring. blockchains are databases, really, what they are. They're giant databases now. Okay, you look at, and people are saying, "Whoa, that's bullcrap." Well, no, not really. I mean, Ethereum started out, and it's basically a giant database of hashes that are transactions. They're timestamped. They go on, and they keep adding to the chain. As they go on, they realize, okay, well, we've got this network built, and especially now that they've got the proof of stake going on, where they've consolidated that into validator nodes. We've got the capability on this network to run, decentralized apps where the app's load capacity is being decentralized across the network, but they're still using the internet. So everything is built on top. Everything is layers on top of layers. And I just don't take a maximalist approach to being so excited about the idea of decentralization, because it's just like with Ethereum, one of the things that I saw on Altcoin Daily, and I shouted them out, I think, before about this, was that they were saying upwards of over 51% of transactions on the Ethereum network at one point were being censored for Tornado Cash transactions, because the U.S. government was saying, we want you to do this. And the Ethereum Foundation guys said, okay, jump, and they said, hell high. So we are dealing with centralization of decentralization already. And then when you get into the situation that you will find yourself in one day, where they do the same thing that they did in Web 2 to Web 3, which is crash it on purpose. They pull, second and third routes of funding, get, chip shortages, all kinds of crazy things. What they did in the dot bomb will happen again, and more consolidation will happen. So a lot of these, smaller companies will be bought up for pennies on the dollar. And that's just the way we, think of it. So to be decentralized, to be truly cognizant of what you're working with is, I think, important. And so we can't ever truly be decentralized because we're on the internet, right? So that's step one. And so I look at possibilities of networks coming up to compete with big brands, like, let's say, YouTube, for example. Yeah, I mean, with YouTube, YouTube provides a great platform. I'm not going to diss them because I'm on YouTube Live right now. Of course, they provide a good platform. They do some monetization, but ownership of content isn't quite there. The monetization could be better. There's all kinds of things that YouTube could do to make it better for creators, but they don't have to, right? So because they don't have to, they don't. And when you see the opportunity as a business, it may take $1 billion or more to start up a YouTube competitor that's, decentralized, on running on a blockchain, maybe has its own blockchain, whatever. I'm thinking maybe Theta Networks is one that I'm looking at. When you have that kind of money and you can actually build something that can compete with one of those big names, then I think you may have something there. If you come and tell me, I'm going to start a Web3 company, here's a bunch of JPEGs, we're going to sell these to compete with YouTube, I'm going to say next, because that's just not going to happen. So if you have the capability, if there are businesses out there, and I'd love to hear from you, please, reach out to us on Twitter, give us a DM. You can shoot an email to mediasvp@streamcatchersociety.com and request for interviews and that kind of thing. We want to hear about really, truly innovative Web3 blockchain decentralized technologies. We want to hear about ones that are real. Absolutely. And anything, related, of course, to art and CG and 3D. And I mean, the stable diffusion stuff is going back crap crazy. We're going to get a 3090 as soon as we can and start running at least 3090, maybe a 4090, but start running Dream Booth. And we'll be doing tutorials on that and how to integrate it. Blender has already got some really cool plugins for stable diffusion to bring it in, which is amazing, because it's like, I was watching the video where they were doing just a basic scene of, like, some basic polygons that represented a mountain in the sky and that kind of thing. And then stable diffusion just boom, turned it into an amazing image. So very, very cool tools, going to speed workflows, going to speed iteration, lots of amazing things coming up. But to get into the buzzwords, to buy into them, to think there's some kind of maximalism of anonymity going on, and that we're all in control of our own data and all that other stuff, it remains yet to be seen for me. I don't necessarily believe that we are going to be there or even get there anytime soon, but I would love to be proven wrong. So I was looking over, I just typed in, like any idiot would, into the Googleverse, what is the metaverse, right? So I kind of never really did that because I know what it is, right? I'm going to see what they have to say. So, in futurism and science fiction, the metaverse is a hypothetical iteration of the internet as a single, universal, and immersive virtual world that is facilitated by the use of virtual reality and augmented reality headsets. In colloquial use, a metaverse is a network of 3D virtual worlds focused on social connection. And that's from Wikipedia. So yeah, it is, it's a virtual environment. It's a Dell server running Unreal. That's in its base form. You can put an empty polygonal world up on Unreal and you and I could walk into it and we're in a metaverse. So there's nothing special about that, right? But now when we're talking about metaverses like current ones, look at what happened with Fortnite. The Fortnite did a concert, I believe, with Deadmau5, and there were 10 million concurrent users online watching that concert. Well, okay, were they all together in the metaverse? No. Were they all wearing headsets? Heck no. I don't even know how many, would or could be in Fortnite. But they were all together, virtually to a degree, watching this concert, 10 million of them, AWS servers. And what they did is, in any virtual world environment, you basically shard. You have a shard of 100 to, I think it's 150 people max at this point, where that's kind of the virtual world. And so that, even though it may look bigger, you can't interact with more than 100 or 150 people. And then I think if you move through the environment, you might transfer to shard. I'm not exactly sure of the tech of that, but I know that it's not like the Oasis where you jump in and there's a billion people in the world. That doesn't work that way. So we have a lot of technical challenges and hurdles to get over. And of course, one of the biggest ones right off the bat is when we're all doing these things, lawyers and marketers and finance people get involved and they go, okay, we've got to make it for everybody. So then lowest common denominator comes in. And I would actually like to, if anybody's out there, I would like to speak to people, anyone who's an expert in this, about what I see as kind of a lack of, a lack of interoperability or a lack of sharing maybe between the Web3D kind of space and the video game space. And it's interesting because over the last 20 years, we covered, Web3D and real-time 3D technologies quite extensively, actually, in the past last couple of years of 3D Design magazine. And not a lot has changed. Not a ton has changed. And when you look at what video games have done and with adaptive level of detail and, all the different texture shading and bump mapping and all the different things that they've done, and almost none of it has translated from what I see into web VR, kind of the spatial stuff and those kinds of things. And I know in great part that's due because people are designing for lowest common denominator. So, I may have a, what do I have? 1600 XT, 2600? I don't know. I've got a high-end AMD, I think it's a 2600 XT, and it's a great card, and it runs 3D great, but that's not who they're designing for. They're designing for the person with the Android phone, and possibly even a third world country. They're designing for lowest common denominator, so it has to work on everything. And that's one of the problems, that we all aren't at the point where we can run all this stuff equally, so everything gets dumbed down. And what happens typically is that certain companies come out, certain solutions come out that force change, that they solve a problem. They may not solve every problem, but they solve major problems or major hurdles, and then the ball really gets rolling and things just tend to explode from there. And I believe personally that Apple's going to be the one that's going to do that. And I look at what Meta has done, not impressed at all. Bought 2 MetaQuests last Christmas, one for myself and one for my son, and I have that's not true, I've modeled quite a bit in Gravity Sketch, and I was using Adobe Medium. I think it's now called Substance Modeler. And I had a lot of fun doing that. That was awesome. And I've done some 360 stuff, and it's not a terrible VR experience overall. It has some issues with people who wear glasses with focus and the sizing, and it's very bulky and heavy. And when you have the battery pack on the back, it's really bulky and heavy. So there's a lot of stuff I do not like about it. And then, a year later, they come out with the MetaQuest Pro for 3 times more. And it's really not, physically, it may be more comfortable. It probably has better it has better everything, of course. But what do? A lot of, they sold 14.5 million from what I know of the Oculus Quest so far. Probably it's maybe 15 or 16 million at this point. And that's not, terrible for a consumer product by any stretch, but it's not fantastic. It's not iPhone level. It's not that kind of thing. So it's not mass adoption. Definitely not. And when you're coming out with something, that I think a lot of developers bought initially, and then you come out with something the next year that's 3 times as expensive, that probably is, it's probably a nice leap forward, but I wouldn't say it's a great leap forward. We need a paradigm shifting hardware software combo. That's what we need. And we're going to get it. I do believe that within 18 to 36 months, at the most, I think we're going to see the killer app drop. And when I say the killer app, the combo of hardware and software. So I was looking in. So what is Metaverse exactly? And I found, of course, Wired. And boy, I hope Ted's not working there anymore. My former editor, Ted. Shout out, Ted, if you're watching at all. This camera got moved over. Just excuse me for just a second. That cameraman is so fired. Okay. So, yeah, Wired. Boy, shadow of its former self. Everything you never wanted to know about the future of talking about the future. Yeah, so this just goes on. You get like 3 articles, and then you have to pay for it. Tech giants like Microsoft and Meta are working on building tech related to interacting with virtual worlds, but they're not the only ones. Many other large companies, including NVIDIA, Unity, Roblox, and even Snap. And Roblox, boy, they're on a tear. They've done a lot of interesting things and a lot of partnerships and different things. A lot of name brands are inside of Roblox, which is very interesting. So we've got, as well as a variety of smaller companies and startups are building the infrastructure to create better virtual worlds. Epic has acquired a number of companies that help create or distribute digital assets, in part to bolster its powerful Unreal Engine 5 platform. And while Unreal may be a video game platform, it's also being used in the film industry and can make it easier for anyone to create virtual experiences. And yeah, there was a robot movie. Let's see if we can find that real quick. Robot Unreal movie. Let's see what that brings up. Yeah, Unreal Engine, filmmaker reacts to, no, that's not it. Unlock the power. I love Death and Robots. It's another, this is Tim Miller, guy I used to know a long time ago. Shout out to Tim. Been a while, buddy. The Love, Death, Robots Netflix animation series, Unlock the Power of Real Time. Let's see what they have to say here. But there's a full animated series, I believe. I'm not sure if it's a series or a movie that is done in real time with the Unreal Engine. And I would imagine, I'd love to talk to the people who are doing it, but I would imagine they're probably using something to the effect of video game controllers to, fight with giant robots and record it. And, just when you combine all of these things with the AI tools and all of the other amazing software that's just coming out like wildfire lately, the possibilities just keep going up and up and up and up. So let me see, virtual production tool, AI-powered image generator. So here's another one, Vaulted Halls Entombed. I haven't even heard of this one. This Netflix. Okay. Raises Cthulhu. Right. Lovecraft. So there's a Lovecraft story that's being done with Unreal Engine. It's it's becoming so powerful as a real-time game engine, and the things that you can do with it are so amazing that's, you're getting almost cinematic real time stuff. It's incredible. So they're doing great. And then, of course, Unreal and Unity are both on a very competitive track to make metaverse worlds and do different things. I'm very, I really hope, really hope, and I've said this in spaces multiple times, that Unreal brings out something like, I don't know, an Unreal Light or something that would be like a spatial competitor. And, they could have like a light version of the engine or something running in WebGL, or, something that I'm sure that they've got the capability to do it. That would be just incredible for moving the metaverse, the 3D metaverse online stuff forward. So ultimately, it'd be a tough decision to embrace this Unreal Engine real-time animation pipeline completely and abandon traditional CGI and animation processes. We might not be quite there yet, but if these results are any indication of what the future might hold, then this real-time animation filmmaking process might be another new future tech closer than people might realize. Yeah, I think that as content creators, we're going to be tasked with becoming experienced designers. Because art is art, right? And if art becomes ubiquitous, it becomes as easy to make as a button push. Where do you differentiate yourself? As an experience driver, these are storytellers. They won't be out of a job just because the way that they tell their stories changes. They may get more work or less work depending on how difficult their tools are, but they're telling stories. So the tools are, of course, a part of that, but they're not exclusive to it. So that was that. I wanted to find that one robot. Let's see here. Let's find this. And please bear with me. This is kind of just stream of consciousness, getting my sea legs, talking to you guys, letting you see how I operate or don't. Let's see. Unreal Engine real-time robot cartoon. Let's try that. So yeah, there it is. Super Giant Robot Brothers. I would love to talk to you guys, guys and gals, whoever they might be. Virtual Production Week. Let's see if I can grab some sound here. Let's grab us some sound. BMD. Oh, that should come through fine. So we've got that. And I should be getting sound somewhere, but I'm not. Let's see. Nope. I'll have to check into that. Okay. Well, anyway, yes, this looks very cool, and it is done with Unreal Engine. And we're it's amazing how we're blending all of these tools together. Adobe is on one of the forefronts. Maxon is as well. Blender. These tools are all converging. There's some I heard somebody is trying to make like a Photoshop inside of Blender, like literally inside of Blender. So amazing tools and things that are coming out, but that's one of the problems that I'm even finding right now is like, where's the pipeline, right? How do you build all this stuff together into a cohesive pipeline, especially if you're a small studio? And we're definitely working on those kinds of things, deep dives, different courses, and things that'll help you determine your proper path, because no one path is the same for everybody. It's not, I can give you definite pointers and ways to go and things to choose. But depending on your animation, your style, your content, your length, all any number of different factors may come into play. The pipelines are so diverse anymore. All the tools are fantastic. You've got just tremendous capability to build. So again, getting back to Web3 Decentralized Metaverse, what are we talking about? We're talking about technology stacks that exist and live on top of other technology stacks. And I see no, end in sight to that. And in fact, one of the things I know, NVIDIA and other companies, Intel and other big companies are working on is increasing the capacity of the internet as a whole. TCP/IP has limitations. There are other things with network load and capacity that must be dealt with. There's the new 5G technologies and routers and all kinds of stuff that are being done on very high levels that a lot of us peons down here on the ground don't see. So there's a lot of things going on. I do try to keep up on a lot of it with, especially like NVIDIA is just, man, they're just going crazy. They're just doing so many amazing things, and covering them would be a full-time job in and of itself, and may actually be something that, hopefully we'll be able to partner with them and do some stuff together in the future. And I wish Apple would play nice, but they're not going to, because they're on their Apple Silicon path. And, speaking of which, Apple, put 10 of them in a Mac Pro and ship it. It costs you $350 in chips. 10 M1s in one board. Be awesome. Anyway, okay, so back to Web3 Decentralized Metaverse. Tremendous opportunity. Creating digital twins of everything. Imagine the idea is that at the very best, the powers that be want to tag, track, and tax, right? So everything that's digital will have an NFT receipt. Everything that is physical will have an IoT tag that will be usually probably married to that NFT receipt in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't always have to be, but it could be. And everything in the world and in the digital world will be tagged, and all of the things in the real world that people care about, a lot of them will become digital twins. And everything, I'm talking right now on kind of a personal scale, but you have buildings, you have entire buildings that are IoTized now, where basically every beam, every pillar, every block has an IoT tag in it, and an NFC tag, and they can scan the building. There are sensors in it that test for stress, cracks, and fractures. The entire world is becoming digitized, and the entire digital world is becoming verified, and will be verified moving forward. So potential for bad things? Oh yeah, we're not going to go there today. I don't want to get banned on my 7th show. But, there's potential for, making 1984 look like a nursery rhyme. But the potential upsides and positives of the technology are fantastic too, because we can do something like StreamCatcher Society. And I'm totally excited and stoked that we can. And all we have to do is kick ass, take names, really show what we can do, prove it in production. And I believe that the proper people will see us and want to join the society. So that's what our goal is. But it's great. It offers tremendous opportunity. And for artists, let's talk about artists for just a moment. Not sponsored by Red Bull, because they're not paying me a damn thing. I buy a lot of these and they're very expensive. Okay, so we are in this environment where artists and creators, especially new ones, especially younger ones, not always, are finding out about NFTs, and they're finding out about selling things with cryptocurrency, and they're absolutely excited, right? Well, gosh, I can sell my art to the world. I can excuse me, morning stuff. I can go and sell my art to the world. I can, mint it to the blockchain. I can get royalties. What's not to be excited about? Well, right now, they're all roaming around a town of 50,000 people that are all artists, and they're trying to sell their art to other artists. So that's a bit of a problem. We're all in these towns that haven't had the roads, the highways built yet to them for the overpasses to go to, for the off ramps to go to. So we're building towns that, don't yet exist, right? We're building them. And when the internet roads get to where we are, the idea is that you want to be positioned to be able to sell and be able to be successful. And what does that look like? Ooh. Well, there's a question for the ages, right? What does that look like? For everybody, it's different. You've got small artists out there who are just starting out. You've got small artists out there who have been doing it for a long time with varying degrees of success. You have businesses who are art focused. You have any number of different things. So what do you do going forward? Well, in my opinion, and we went over this the other day, but I think it's important to go over again, and we can try and find some numbers here, but we have to look at reality, right? What's the reality of the world? The reality of the world right now is that it's in a giant friggin' mess, and nobody has any money, and except for the really rich people, whatever, people are broke, or they're paying exorbitant rates for energy or their food or whatever it may be. And so there isn't a lot of money going around right now to begin with. And, everything is connected. Web3 is connected to Web2, and crypto is connected to fiat, and all of these things are connected. The world is an interconnected place. But as you're going out there and you're saying, I'm an artist, what do I want to do? As I've worked with tons of fine artists over the years. Thousands of them came through the Guerrilla Gallery and the Z Zone and the studio, and printed prints and did all kinds of things. So I've worked with any number of varying levels of degrees of success, and newbies and veterans. And there weren't a whole lot of them, not a whole lot of them, who actually were able to do their artwork full time and live solely from their artwork. Now, I'm not talking about production people. I'm talking about fine artists. So with fine art, it's much more difficult to make a full-time living as a fine artist. And what you find with most fine artists around the world is that it's a secondary thing. It's a side thing. Not that their art isn't primary in their life, but that, and that they wouldn't rather be doing it. But generally, because of where they are, or lack of sales, or whatever the reason may be, most fine artists tend to have it as a second job. And a lot of people who are out there trying to become fine artists and see people like Beeple and other ones who, quote unquote, hit the jackpot. I mean, Beeple did, 3D rendering in Cinema 4D every day for 13 years. So, overnight success. You've got the capability, and especially in a global marketplace, please don't get, discouraged about this, fine artists, if you're out there listening to this. There's tremendous opportunity out there for fine artists right now because of this space, and as the infrastructures get built out, as NFTs become more popularized through cryptocurrency becoming more popular, as CBDCs get issued, as certain things happen in the world, as things change, more opportunity to sell your hang it on the wall fine art will happen. In the overall scheme of things, however, how much money are we talking about? So when I look at numbers and statistics, I take a lot of them with a grain of salt, because from 53 years of life experience, from looking around, from being able to take me out of myself and look at things, objectively, I think that the global fine art market really isn't all that big, and in comparison. So let's take a look real quick. Let's go over to the Gargle Master, and we'll say global fine art market value 20. Let's go 2021, see if that happens. Art market price database, a survey of global collecting, global art market worldwide statistic and facts. Okay. So this right off the bat, if we believe Google, I mean, let's even double it to 130 billion, but just let's say it's 65 billion. Okay. Or, even 100, let's say 100 billion. Let's just do 100 billion for fun. We'll go grab us a calculator, and we'll do 100, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's what, 100 million, right? And then 1, 2, 3. 100 billion. Okay, let's divide that by 1 million artists. That would be $100,000 per artist. Okay. So if there were 1 million artists and we had $1 billion to split, or I mean $100 billion to split, Okay, that'd be $100,000 per artist. This isn't real money, not even. The amount of money laundering and fraud and different things that go on in the fine art market is legendary. That's why they track fine art so much between countries. The fine art. The other thing too is that there are a lot of gallerists around the world. Not a lot, but there's a small network of gallerists around the world. Different networks that pump and inflate prices of fine art out of proportion, I believe. So when we're talking about a true fine art market, I try to look at it like, where does art fit into my life? Because I consider myself an average human being for the most part. I mean, I maybe of a little bit higher intellect than most, but I consider myself an average person, and I try to think about people, and I could talk to my garbage man for 2 hours about what he does. I'm that kind of person. So when I look around and I see what people are buying, I don't see a ton of people buying fine art. Now that doesn't mean that people don't. That doesn't even mean a lot of people don't, but maybe one, in their life, or two. A lot of people do family photos, people personal art, maybe the family artist or whatever gave them a piece. Friends give them something, and people do give art, so it's not a market that doesn't exist, but it's just generally not too high on the totem pole when it comes to disposable income and what generally people spend their money on. So the average person might, look at an art purchase and make an art purchase, not even knowing they're making an art purchase, because they're buying a t-shirt with Lilo and Stitch on it, or they are buying a poster with Britney Spears on it, or whatever it might be. They are participating in the purchasing of content, of created art. So I look at art as a bit more pragmatic than a fine art, the true, pure fine artist would, or somebody who works, as a gallerist. And a lot of those people would find what I'm saying completely repugnant, probably. But the fine art market isn't that big. And I don't think it ultimately ever will be, especially considering the AI art and the things that are coming out. So what does that mean for artists? Well, out of all of the artists I've ever known in my life, 90% of them or more, even though I would say a good majority of them considered themselves fine artists to one degree or the other, 90% of them or more worked commercial jobs. They were production people in a film and VFX house. They were doing their own freelance motion graphics. They were whatever it might be. And they also had art, right? Oh, I have art that I want to print. I made this art. They're artists. So we're all artists. It just depends on where you are, how much money you need to make, what your art is, how it's going to potentially sell. And the global market helps you for sure. But again, the fine art market is finite. I believe it is finite. And when we look at it from that perspective, our perspective is I buy things that I find beautiful and that I love. I consider all kinds of things works of art. I mean, down to the sculpting of an iPhone, I consider artistic, mechanical design, mechanical engineering, designing a pair of sneakers, designing good products, designing good things, designing a greenhouse. All of these things are art. They're artistic to me. Now, that doesn't necessarily, if you design a greenhouse, that doesn't necessarily make you an artist in the purest sense of the word, as like if we're using definitions, but there is an artistic quality to carpentry and all those other things. Absolutely. You're a craftsman, you're an artist, you're a maker, you're a creator. And I like that. And so when I think of how we can use our artistic talents, either separately or together, I think is, I love doing art. I love doing creation, but I also want to do things that people enjoy, right? So I want to monetize it. How do I do things that people enjoy on a mass scale enough for them to want to be a part of it, to want to buy into it, to be a part of the world, to buy a movie ticket, to buy merchandise, whatever it may be. I'm not saying the Disney, Marvel, Star Wars model is the best model in the world, but there are aspects of it that you'd absolutely want to mimic and follow. And those, they're not bad. Sometimes the companies behind them can lose track of foundational principles and morals and all kinds of stuff. But what they do is they provide things that people want and people buy them. And they happen right, now, thankfully, to be revolving around a lot of really cool art and content creation and storytelling and everything that's going on from the mainstream all the way down to the little guys, from Marvel and Star Wars at Disney to the Feels Society on Twitter. Everybody has their place when they're creating content and they're doing great things, but you've got to be able to monetize it. You've got to make some kind of mass. And when I say mass appeal, it doesn't have to be, not everybody has to like it. If you're doing dark art, your dark art has to have mass appeal to an area, to a group of people that are fond of that kind of thing. If you go to a vampire, forum, and you're doing vampire dark art and you put it out there and a bunch of the vampires go, ooh, that sucks. Time to go back to the vampire drawing board. We also need to hold people not accountable. We need to, that didn't even switch. Excuse me. We need to make sure that we're kind about it, but that people understand where they are and that we don't blow smoke, that we don't tell them that there's something that they're not and say that they're great when they're not. And that's, great is subjective, art is subjective. I get that. But if you look around you, there's a level of quality, a standard that you expect with anything, with your laptop, with your phone, whatever it may be. You have a personal expectation of quality, and the device that you're using or whatever it may be, or your shoes or whatever, they may or may not meet those expectations, right? So as somebody who is building a business that is going out there and we're going to be grabbing artists and we're going to be putting things, and not just collabs. I mean, I'm talking real business projects that we're going to be putting together people to really make some great stuff. We're looking for great people. And that doesn't even necessarily mean that you have to have a ton of experience, or that you have to, be really, 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 really good at this particular thing or whatever it is. If you have talent and you have skills and you have that attitude that I can always be better, that I can always learn from people who are better than me, because that's me. I mean, I'm not the top of the line of anything. I just have a real good general knowledge of a lot of stuff. I'm constantly learning from people that are better than me, and the people that I would consider mentors or people that I listen to and respect, because that's the only way you learn. And if you understand your place, if you're honest with people and you tell them, I was in a space, I think it's Papados, I believe is his name, shout out, was remarking on some of his art. He had done a nude gal, and it was very nicely done. It was painted. He actually made it and painted it. It wasn't AI art, but I asked him if it was because one of the breasts was way off. It was perspective and proportion was off on it. And no, it wasn't. It was his, but I critiqued him gently, and I told him, and he took it very well. And he put a big censored bar over it. It was funny. But that, if you take the attitude that, okay, you don't, like I said, if just somebody comes at you and goes, you suck, dude. I mean, what are you going to do? You instantly, right? You're ready to fight. But if you have people tell you kindly and honestly, I see one of the things I see with people a lot of times, they'll be doing some great artwork a lot. Maybe it's on Procreate sometimes, but irregardless, they'll do some great artwork, and maybe the line weights aren't consistent. There's inconsistencies in the thing. It looks like this image is great, but this 1/4 is like that. That's probably the last part you did, right? So you can tell, and there's just levels that you need to kind of force people to look at themselves, look at what they're doing, and say, can I be better? And the people that immediately say, oh, I'm fine, I'm good, don't leave me alone, just go away. Because you're not the kind of person that can be taught. And if that's your attitude, I pity you, because my attitude is constantly, if you can teach me something and prove me dumber than you, go for it, please, because that's the only way I learn. That and being beat in the head, literally. So we're in an amazing time with technology that is just going out of control fast. I've been in the technology sector, like I said, since I was 7 years old. So that I'm 53. So that would have been 1976. Yeah, that we got our first TRS-80 Model 1 with 4K of RAM. Most email headers, I think, are bigger than 4K now. I've been involved with technology all my life, and I've seen it accelerate, and I've seen Moore's law, and I've seen all the things that say, this CPU processor will double in capacity every 18 months, and we've seen blown past that in ways. There are a lot of convergence technologies coming. There's a lot of technologies being worked on separately, together with different large firms and companies that are going to converge very soon. Like I said, within 18 to probably 36 months at the most, into truly remarkable technologies that are going to be, again, fantastic for content creators. And all of the things that are great about the industry, just don't buy into the hype. Because that's what it is. There's a lot of hype out there. And there's a lot of people who are getting ripped off because they don't understand what they're dealing with. They don't understand what they're talking about. And because to people like me, who may not be as nice as I am, who are out for money and don't care if they hurt someone, they're easy marks. You can 2 or 3 sentences and I can peg somebody, generally, if they're, depending on what they're talking about, of course, but I can peg them as to their level of understanding of technology. And so when you get people who are out to hurt people and scam them out of their money and all those kinds of things, artists are prime targets for that. Content creators, people who are much more optimistic generally and much more, I want to say naive. They're not naive at all. It's just they have a more open heart usually, and they're more open to things. They're more, artists and creators are more open people generally, and that can leave them open to exploitation. And it happens every day in the crypto and NFT space, and that is primarily, for whatever weird reason, happening a lot on Twitter. So we've got that to deal with as well. I don't want anybody telling me that this crypto is going to be around forever. I don't want anybody telling me that this crypto is the best or this crypto is the worst or whatever, because right now they're all pretty terrible. And when I say that, I'm putting my neck out there. I know that there's a lot of, oh, this is great. And don't get me wrong. Where the powers that be want to eventually go is a digital currency, all their own, a CBDC on a private blockchain that they can control and they can turn on and off at will, make you spend stuff, do whatever. That's their goal. So if that's their goal, everything that all of us are doing cryptocurrency wise, building frameworks, building networks, we're testing grounds. We're playgrounds for them, whether they're watching very closely and intently with everything that we're doing. And we are doing good things. We're building, Ethereum is not a bad thing. Bitcoin is not a bad thing. These are stores of value. They're commentary, their social commentary, and a thumb nose to fiat, saying, you've not done your job. You've printed way too much money or hit that print money button way too many times. So we're going to take our value and we're going to bring it over here. And, you look at transactions per second on, Ethereum or any other network. Some of them are getting a little bit more impressive. I will say that. One doesn't come to mind right now, but they're not all that impressive. And when you're talking about running dApps at scale, forget it. An app store on Ethereum with 1 million users, no way. It's just not going to happen, not anytime soon. That's what they're going towards, and that's what everybody wants to build towards. And it could happen, quicker than I think, or it could happen not at all. Something totally new could come out, which is why I'm not being a maximalist currently on any of these technologies, because I don't think any of them are good enough to be that maximalist on. I'm not a maximalist on computer technology. Why would I be a maximalist on crypto or anything else? We have a lot of different marketplaces with different crypto blockchains. So we've got, OpenSea, which is a lazy minting site, which basically a JPEG dump that, whenever somebody buys something, then it gets minted. You can also, put up stuff that's manifold XYZ contracts and your own contracts, of course. So it's already pre-minted stuff. But, the standard at OpenSea is lazy minting. You have, Object for Tezos. You have Magic Eden and Foundation and Voice, which uses their own token, and then you convert through USDC. A lot of this is dealing with currency, right? We're dealing with money. So we have to bring our fiat into the system somehow. Coinbase wallet, Trust Wallet, whatever. Or you buy it on, an exchange. You maybe buy Ethereum. You convert it into another ERC20 token, or you buy some Bitcoin, and then you realize, oh, I want to buy some SHIB, and so you have to convert that. We're dealing with a lot of currency. And I've dealt with more currency and money things in my life in the last 2 years than I did in the last 51. And I'm not particularly thrilled about it. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It's not my wheelhouse. My wife, God bless her soul, thank you, love you, dear. She is the CFO and the CEO, and that's a good thing because I'd have 47 of these and no food. I'm not the one that you necessarily want to handle the overall checkbook for the business. Although I'm very responsible, I am. I'm half kidding, but I know my limitations. I'm not a finance guy. I'm a creator. I'm a director. I'm a marketer. I'm the person that gets things done. And I don't really care all that much about the money. That's the whole point, is that, my care and love of money is about, down there. I don't like money per se. What it can do, the things it can do, absolutely. Tremendous power, right? I mean, it can provide tremendous power, but I don't want money for power. I want money for freedom, for the freedom to do what I want to do, for the freedom to help other people do what they want to do and succeed and thrive in their creativity. That's what money is about to me. So when I'm sitting here dealing with, this crypto and conversion and this fee and that fee and moving that and wrapped ether and Polygon, I'm sitting there going to myself, this is just a giant freaking headache. I mean, right now it is. And so what do you do if you're in tech and you have to tell people what to do and how it works and all that other kind of stuff? At least, somewhat. You have to play in the soup. You have to go and jump in the pool. And so I have, big time. I've gone and I've got multiple wallets. I've done crypto trading. I've bought NFTs. I have bought rugged projects, a couple of them, unfortunately. Sorry, honey. I haven't lost a lot in that regard. Not a ton. I think I'm about 1,500, which is, enough. But everything else has been just down like everybody else. So, down 80%, whatever, 90% in value overall for your crypto. I mean, I don't know what we're at for Bitcoin right now, but it's way down from where it was. So everybody's hurting in that regard. And I think that cryptocurrencies and all of the things that we're dealing with they shouldn't be so important. We don't think about them in the real world as much as we, do. Most people, especially if you're talking about in America, you're dealing with US dollars, and you put your US dollars in the bank and you buy things with them and your debit card is in US dollars and it makes it real easy, and people like easy. And I'm not talking about, by the way, I am very two-minded about things when it comes to technology. I try very, very, very hard to put myself in my tech shoes and my normal, hey, this is my mom or my brother's shoes. Not my one brother, my other brother. These people are not the most tech savvy. They're not into technology except to use it to get things done. And what would they feel like? So I look at it in that way. And there's just too much confusion. There's too many fees. There's too much back and forth. What is the ultimate end goal of all of this? I don't know. We could wind up in a future where everything is so tokenized that you literally have to buy the plumber token when your plumber comes to your house to fix your plumbing, because that's the only thing they operate in, and the plumbers union only takes plumber token. So we could be in a world of tokenization that just goes out of control, or we could be in a consolidated one world type government where we have one crypto and that's it. And it's a CBDC, or a central, World Bank digital currency or whatever it might be down the road. And that would be bad too. So we have to be aware of what we're playing with. We have to be aware of the power that it holds, both good and bad. And as artists and creators and people who are into Web3 and decentralized and all those other things, be into the things that you're into because you understand them, not because they're buzzwords and you hear about them and you're like, ooh, it's a new world. No, it's not. It's the same old world with a new tech stack on top of it. So you really have to look at things that way. You still, and again, not blanket advice for everybody, but you still need a website generally. Even, fine artists, I think a lot of people who I've worked with in the distant past in film and VFX and different things, video games, most of those people still to this day either don't have a website or have websites that are so terrible I wouldn't even want to show them to you, because they really just didn't care even at the time they were doing it, because they were too busy working. And they've been working for 20 or 30 years professionally, and having their plate completely full because people are begging them to work for them, and they don't need to promote in that way, so they haven't been doing that. But as times get harder, as things change, as remote work becomes more of a thing than it already is, all of these things are going to converge into making the availability of putting out your shingle in VR, so to speak, your metaverse store, however you want to put it. Eventually that will come to be, and you'll have the potential to sell to a global audience in 3D virtual worlds and meet people and talk to them. And, that's the idea. That's the goal, right? And I do believe we're going there. How long it takes to that, maybe 10, maybe 20 years. I don't know. I'm not sure. But initial, AR, VR experiences and other things that are coming, I think are going to definitely change a lot of people's minds about a lot of this technology, because they're going to be good. And I truly believe that the best one, or the one that really changes things, that becomes that paradigm shift, is going to be from Apple. And I have my reasons. So again, the fine art market isn't that big. We need to also look at, creators who are out there in Web3 and NFT land and say, how successful are you being? Like, if I was consulting with an artist, let's say an artist came to me and said, I'll pay you to consult with me. What should I do? And let's say they're in a foreign country, they are struggling to sell their artwork. They're not a bad artist. They're actually pretty good, but they don't have the ability to really do the outreach. They might be limited in their technology, whatever it might be. They want to, get promoted and have me help them. That's a tough one to answer. How do you go ahead and tell people what to do in any given situation if they're not selling their artwork and they want to sell more of their artwork, just artwork? I would just say to them, why don't you come and be part of a team? Or why don't I hire you? Or, why don't we do an arrangement where you create something for us that we can turn around and then market and monetize, and then you'll make money. And it may not be the print hanging on somebody's wall, but your artistic talent will be used to have made something. You'll get the credit for it. You'll get paid. You'll get royalties, moving forward. Because I think that's the other thing too, is that, this Web3 provides us the opportunity to do business a little bit different, and to do it in a way that truly shows that we do care about people. And we do. We care about people, and we want people to succeed. We also have to succeed too. So we have to make a profit, and we have to be a profitable business. But as long as we're floating, you can grab on and float with us, right? That's the whole point. So we're not in it for, to save the naked mole shrew or anything else. We want to make money. We would like to make money with this, and we'd like it to be a profitable organization, because the only way we see that something like this can be profitable is pretty much a profitable business with a volunteer component to some degree. And so we're kind of blending, two of the best of both worlds, like a Pixar and SIGGRAPH, like I've always said, kind of smushed together into an alt. So there's a ton of possibilities out there for artists, but they kind of have to expand the way that they think about things. They have to think about their art as maybe a little bit more in a more utilitarian kind of sense, is like, how can my talent to create be used to create or accentuate or help make things that either, tell stories, engage people, or that people want, and that they can use in their lives, or whatever it may be. There's any number of different paths that you can take with this. But just fine art, you're going to have to be really, really good to compete. And there's places for that too. We definitely think, there's nothing wrong with a $65 billion art market, even if 30 billion of it is fake. It's still a $30 billion market. That's I think about what vitamins are in the US. So it's a huge, chunk of change. But then you look at the global film market. Let's look at the global film market value. Okay, film and music global market report to reach $479.63 billion. So you are looking at like a 6x over the fine art market in possibility, just in film. Okay. So film, video games, television, YouTube, social media, content itself, products, all those kinds of things are massively, massively larger than the fine art market will ever hope to be. So just something to consider when you're talking about using your artistic talents. And that's the thing. Most people, at least that I've known in my life, that's exactly what they've done. They wanted to be artists, maybe, you know, ever since they were a little kid, or maybe not, but, you know, the little kid wants to be the artist, you know, all their life. They grow up, they paint, they may go to school, they've spent a year in France, you know, whatever it may be. They come back to Earth and they find out, oh, crap. I need to actually go and work for somebody that's going to take my artistic talent and make something more out of it, make something different, make something bigger, better, that I'm part of a team. Those are typically what you find artists have to do. And then you have like photographers, who I've worked with many photographers over the years who were fine art photographers. They considered themselves that, but their bread and butter was doing commercial photography for magazine shoots, for different things like that, because that was their bread and butter. And some had a good attitude about it, some had a great attitude about it, and some had a really crappy attitude about it. I think that if you are able to create if you're able to create, if you're able to use your creativity and have creative output at the end of the day, you should consider yourself blessed. Now, that doesn't mean that all creative jobs are great, and that doesn't mean that you can't be miserable or that your boss doesn't suck or any number of issues. But if you are creating, if you're actually creating things and creating artwork and drawings and or sequencing or video editing, whatever it may be, and you're doing creative work, you are the few. You're not the many, you're the few. And you should feel blessed. And taking those talents and being able to expand them beyond, I'm going to print this and hang it on a wall, I think is an important thing to consider moving forward in your professional life if you haven't already. And now that said, please understand, I've known and care about many fine artists, some famous, you know, mildly, and who are fine artists, and that's all they do. It does happen. It does. That's not typical. Okay, so what is, let's go ahead and look on Quest sales. I wanted to look at that. Quest Store surpasses 1.5 billion in content revenue. Now see, that there is a perfect example of, if you control the pipes, you win, right? If you control any section of those pipes down the line, you're winning to some degree. So Quest Store surpasses 1.5 billion in content revenue, showing continued growth. So that means that people are buying apps and different things on the Quest Store. So look at that chart here we've got. So this is from 2019 to 2022. We had an initial burst of about $10 million, went down to almost nothing. Then it skated up a little bit to about 20 again, stayed at about 25, or no, I'm sorry, 10 to about 12 maybe. And then from 2020 until the first of the year of 2022, it was on a linear climb here. And then we haven't gone dramatically up, but as of October 1st, 2022, we're at 60 million in sales for the month. So again, it's not the App Store. It's not the Google Play Store. It is successful. It's profitable for them to some degree. I don't know how much they've gotten R&D and all that other stuff. You know, I don't think it's profitable overall for them at all by any stretch. And I know that I think they put $10 billion recently into their Metaverse stuff. Oh, that name is just going to drive me nuts. Okay. Why Meta isn't talking about sales numbers. Right. And, I have my feelings about companies. I have my feelings about different things. And I want you to understand that it has nothing to do with people that work at these companies, because people, it's just like countries, the people in the countries aren't the leaders. They're not the people that push the bomb buttons and do all that stuff. They're just people that work there. And there's a lot of really great people that work at Meta, actually, a lot of really talented individuals, VR people, AR, XR. A lot of people are being paid very well to be there right now. So I do expect some good things to come out of them, I would hope. But I don't like Meta, and I don't like Zuckerbot, and I don't like the name, and I don't like a lot of things about them. And their login processes, and I mean everything. It's just like they're anti-user friendly. So anyway, VR success. It's all about usage. Yeah, well, duh. When you're in it for 45 minutes and you feel like you're going to throw up, there's a problem. Especially when you spent $1,500 on 2 of them, with all the little accessories and everything else. Okay. 2 years later, Zuckerberg said in an interview that from an ecosystem perspective, we believe that if we get to 10 million units active, then there's kind of a critical magic number. Yeah, that's because people like the number 10 million. Zuckerberg added that he was optimistic about reaching that goal over the next few years. Well, wait a minute. When is this art? This article is more recent. They've got 10 million. That's weird. Okay. Samsung's failed Gear VR smartphone VR glasses are a vivid example of hardware that spread much better and faster than the competition, but has no economical base due to low usage. I don't even know if I've ever seen a Samsung Gear VR. I know I've seen the HTC Vive. Let's see what Gear VR looks like. No, Samsung Gear VR. Wikipedia. Oh, yeah, that looks comfortable. Oh, so it's powered by Oculus. Okay, that's why. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, bad choices, bad naming choices. I don't know. The marketing people can be such a pain in the ass, I swear. They really can. I've dealt with so many of them, and some of them are just terrible. And I've had some great marketing people, CMP particularly, have been great marketing people at 3D Group. But I've dealt with some marketing people that I would sell for $1, no problem. So even if Meta has sold 10 million devices, well, it sold 14.5 already. At least that's my last number. Yeah, the company is probably a long way from 10 million active VR users. I mean, that's, if that's true, I think that the reason is that because a lot of developers bought them. And I bought one for that purpose, to work with it, to play with it, to see where the technology was. If I had to do it over again, I don't know if I would. Honestly, I don't know if I would have bought the Quest. The experience is, I would have bought it if it didn't make me motion sick. That's the one thing that if it didn't, and I can be on a deep sea boat. I don't have inner ear problems or anything like that. It might be a vision thing. I have a little macular degeneration. That's why I wear glasses. But the focusing mechanism, they don't have there's not any kind of software based focusing or anything that you could do. I think they could have done a lot better in that regard. If I didn't get sick in it, and I could actually sit and model with it for a few hours at a time instead of just 40 minutes. I mean, because I'm just getting into the groove at that point. I would say I would have still bought it. But knowing how, it makes me feel and everything else after 45 minutes, I consider it a $600 or $700, whatever it was, pretty much waste of money. And, I'll get in and I'll play with it and I'll go into spatial and I'll look at things in VR to see how they feel and look. And I'll spend 20 or 30 minutes at a time in it, but not much and not often. And I wish it was more. I do. I really wish it was more. I think younger people too are also more forgiving. If your eyesight isn't as bad, or my eyesight isn't bad per se, but if you are able to last in it, especially because not everybody gets motion sick, I think that they are very compelling in some regards. But I don't. Even my son, who's 13 years old, he loves his video games. I built him a custom, Hackintosh and PC, and he's in Windows all the time. I'm actually going to pull the Mac drive. He's into everything about all this stuff, and I bought him the Quest, and I would say he's probably used it a total of maybe 10 or 12 hours in a year. We're coming up to Christmas again, so 10 months. Not impressive, and it's not that we have stopped him from using it. I mean, we told him that time would be limited with it, but we didn't really have to enforce that because he has not been. He's been limiting himself by not using it. So I think a lot of developers bought it, and I think a lot of developers were even disappointed with it and probably shelved it. So interesting. Poor retention metric, and I'm sure if Meta wants to come on and talk to me or whatever, I'll be glad to talk to anybody. Please correct me. These are all opinions and things I'm gleaning from the spaces that I, the areas I stream around in, and I know that I am almost never wrong. Almost never. I never want to say I'm always right because that would really be terrible. But when it comes to technology and when it comes to things, I can definitely see through the curtain, that big curtain that the person sits behind. It's transparent for me. So the best Oculus Quest 2 deals, and I just I think that I don't know. I think that Meta could have done a lot better, reaching out to people, reaching out to developers, working with them. I don't know if they offer deals or anything for developers to, trade in their Quest for a Quest Pro because, it's like, we'll take the one that doesn't work and we'll give you the one that does. I don't know if even the Pro works very well. I don't know anything about it. So I will defer on that opinion until I have one. But as far as the Quest 2, yeah. I wish it was better. I do. I want to say it's better. I do. I want to say it's cool. It definitely is fun. I mean, you've got the modeling is amazing when you can, go in with your controllers and you can model around and push and pull, and it's very, very cool. And there's cool games and everything. There's Beat Saber and there's the fruit game where Fruit Ninja where you slice that with the swords. There are fun aspects to it, but I think that the size, the bulk, the weight, the resolution, the frame rates, the software itself, we're in development phase. But again, I really wish I had not bought the Quest and waited for the Quest Pro. That's probably where I would have liked to have been on the development end of things. If the Quest Pro will allow me to use it without getting motion sick. So I don't even know if that's the case or not. So we got a long Meta way to go, people. So let's see what else is going on here. This is Road Tour. I've been on this site before. Shout out to roadtour.com. So Quest Pro is the dawn of the mixed reality headset era. Oh, we have mixed reality. That's what it is. Huh. Well, let's take a look at this. I don't have sound, unfortunately. At least I don't think I do. Why am I not getting sound on that? Let's just watch. Okay. Yeah, I mean, see, all the possibilities are fantastic. It definitely looks smaller. It definitely looks lighter. These are pre-rendered, motion captured ones, the avatars. Okay, I'd like to just see the hardware. That was just a big commercial for Meta that I just played. Sorry. Okay. Let's see here. So we've got internal cameras watching your eyes and face. The headset is capable of giving your avatar more realistic expressions that clearly move the bar. Okay. I want to know what the tech is. Pretty good canvas. Yeah, right. Pair of all-day sunglasses 10 years from now. Yeah, well, 10 years from now. For VR gamers, there's not much about their current VR experience the Quest Pro would change right out of the box, other than some apps gaining a better pass-through background. Yeah, I don't know. It's like fool me once, right? And I think a lot of people feel burned with it. And I don't know. I can be mean, so maybe I'm just being too mean. But when you spend a lot of money on technology that basically sits there, and is used when it can be for whatever reason, but it's, for the lack of a better way to put it, a waste of money. You get a little gun shy. And these for triple the price, I mean, they just said it right there. It's like, go down to the last, you usually find the conclusion to be the best. There's not much about their current VR experience that Quest Pro would change. Raise your expectations too, people. Everybody's expectations in the NFT space is through the floor. Expect more. All right, so Touch Pro controllers to Quest 2 without buying the entire headset. So now there's Touch Pro controllers. Also compatible with Quest 2, of course, because that's just smart. Meta's new Quest Pro headset includes Touch Pro controllers, which come with a bevy of upgrades. Let's see here. They do away with the tracking ring that's been present at on every touch controller to date. They use 3 onboard cameras to perform their own inside-out tracking. Well, that's interesting. So maximize this. Not only does this make the controllers more compact, it also means they don't need to have line of sight to the headset in order to maintain tracking. That means they should work great even when your hands are above your head, at your side, or behind you, and I'm sure someone will try attaching them to their feet. That's pretty cool. Again, it's, I think that companies are built and born to innovate and to hold things back and to not, necessarily release everything at once. But I think that they probably should, they should have a return program for all the Quests. I'm sorry, 50% off, 80% off, something, because this is ridiculous. It's like, this is what the Quest, should have been to begin with. And then that's a start to the next thing. You can tell the headset's definitely more sleek, and it looks like it has a more refined shape to fit your face. So that's interesting. And, oh, look at that cord. That's nice and long. I guess that's just for charging. Okay. All the Touch Pro improvements. Yeah, nothing. I mean, I want to be excited. I mean, Lord, it's like, you don't want technology companies to release crap. I'm not saying this is crap, but it's just like, geez, it's 3 times the price. Why? I mean, could you not get it down? I don't get it. I don't get it. So we're not there. We're not there. And the metaverses and all the other things, the real estate, that's the one thing I don't get. I mean, let's look at metaverse real estate numbers. Metaverse real estate by the numbers. And these are just, I'm just, looking around. I'm not taking any of these numbers as gospel. Metaverse real estate statistics by Ruby Home. Let's see what they have to say. Yeah, I mean, what is metaverse real estate? It's a Dell server with Unreal Engine, and here's a polygon. You buy it and put your house on it. I mean, that's in the most basic form. That's a metaverse piece of real estate. So they're infinite. They're potentially infinite. So what gives them value? The only thing that gives them value, in my opinion, is proximity. You're not really buying real estate. You're buying people estate. You're buying the house next to Snoop Dogg, whatever it might be. You're buying based on location to other people, in my opinion. So virtual real estate overview. $1.9 billion in metaverse real estate transactions. Well, if we're to believe that, let's see. We don't have any sources or references. Yeah, this is just, I don't know. Okay, here we go. Here's a number, but where's it coming? Okay, Dune.com. There we go. There's some numbers. Let's look at some numbers. All right, other side, $815,204,820. Wow. Decentraland, $444,540,170. That they've got 500 of my dollars. The Sandbox, NFT Worlds, Metroverse Genesis, Worldwide Web, Voxels, Arcade Land, Treeverse, and Somnium Space seem to be the top 10. And they total $1.89 billion of value that has been bought and sold and traded on those 10 real estate marketplaces. So when you think about it that way, whether it's real or not, whether you believe in it or not, or whether it is valuable ultimately or not, there are people that have voted with $1.89 billion so far in the top 10 that there is value there. And so at least to them, there is value. And if there is money trading back and forth in that kind of regard, then you will find people who will make things to sell into it. So we've got top 10 metaverse real estate deals. Let's see, TCG World was $5 million. The Sandbox was 4.2. Decentraland, I guess this is the biggest virtual real estate deal. So that would be a single deal. Again, this is the Sun and Switch here sources. The Sandbox did a 4.2 million. Decentraland did a 2.4. Axie Infinity did a 2.3 million. You know, there's another. You know, you look at Axie Infinity. This is a metaverse. I would have no problem calling it that in the purest sense of the term. Virtual online world, right? And they were doing quite well, all up and into and through the bull market and everything. And then they got hacked. And it was I believe it was a more social hack than anything, but they had, somebody had gotten control of, I believe, 6 of 9 of their servers and was able to basically do a 51% attack via that vector and stole over $600 million worth of Axie. Cashed out, and they've never recovered, and their value has gone down dramatically. But at their height, there was a lot of people in the Philippines and in a couple other countries that were making full year salaries, every month with this game and doing all kinds of different things and trading Axies back and forth. And it was kind of a battle game and all this stuff. And now, I don't know where it is. I don't know if we can even get in the marketplace without connecting a wallet. But, yeah, they're way down from where they were. Let me tell you what. 6 months ago, it cost $1,400, gas not included, to buy 3 Axies in order to compete and to play the game. And now we're looking at $25, $3, $4. So, it's coming one way or the other. The blockchain, NFT, all this stuff. We talking about it, artists, content creators, different things. We may be at the forefront, just like we were at the forefront of, DVD ROM tech and 3D tech and all the other things back in the 90s. We're talking about blockchains and NFTs and all these other things today. They will become ubiquitous in a matter of years, and the technologies will come around to bring VR and other technologies into the mainstream. So the things that we're working for right now in a bear market and moving forward, however long the bear market happens, if we have a depression or World War III or who the hell knows, God, I hope not. But if we have worse times to come before better times, there are always hopefully better times around the next turn, and you have to just keep working through and working hard to get through to them. But valuations of different things in the NFT space were blown way out of control just because of the sheer amount of money that was coming into the crypto space, and people hadn't, they didn't know what to do with their money. They were just throwing it around like wild people. And so when the irrational exuberance was ended, when the economy started doing a lot worse and people started consolidating, the crypto market crashed, and not crashed, but crashed pretty bad. And we're in a very hard bear, and a lot of the scammers and other people have left, but they'll be back. They will absolutely be back when the time is right and the winds change and the streams flow in the direction that they want them to. They'll be back. And we have to plan for it and prep for it and know what we're dealing with. So when it comes to Metaverse and Web3 and decentralized, I'm interested in talking to people who are making real things, who are working with real infrastructure and technology, whether it's hardware or software. I'm not that interested in cryptocurrencies unless they have direct ties into actually storing the data with the blockchain. They're all inclusive solutions. I think the entire crypto space in general is a absolute mess and a nightmare, from not being able to deny things coming into your wallet, to not being able to send them to a burn address, to have, you tap to interact with it at all, and you could potentially have your wallet drained. All those other things are problems that we need to make sure, as collectively, as a group and as an industry, we demand that the people who are creating these tools do better. They have to do better, because if they don't, we're going to be stuck trying to sell to each other for a long time to come. Normies are not going to want to do what we're going through. Let's go and move on. One of the things I know that has been coming out lately that I wanted to check out too is the LG has a pair, and there's a couple other companies that have come out with these new have come out with these new cinema glasses, and they're supposed to put like a large screen monitor in front of your face, and I don't remember the name of them. But some of that tech I'd like to try out as well, where they're much more like a pair of regular, sunglasses. They look more like that, and they actually put a large virtual screen up in front of you. And I could totally see how that would be very useful for doing things like, Cinema 4D, working on your laptop somewhere where you don't have your extra large screen that you normally hook up to, or that kind of thing. So we definitely want to check those out. And if there's any other things that you'd like us to check out and review as we move forward, we're going to definitely be reviewing a lot of different products, including a lot of the ones we have here already. We've got some great stuff, the Rodecaster Pro that we're going to review, the ATEM Extreme ISO, which is fantastic. We've got the, I hit a button accidentally. Stream Deck XL. We've got the Loop Deck that we're putting a review together on. We want to make sure to show you the best tools and what's available and what's out there. We're also going to, like I said, get actually just ordered an iPhone. Oh my God, I should tell you about my iPhone story. I don't know, I might get in trouble. Right. One of the carriers that I'm a customer of, one of the big ones, logo looks like a Death Star. I went to the closest Death Star store, and it was a mess. It looked like a bunch of kids had ransacked it. None of the phones were working. One Apple Watch was working. There were 2 iPads on. That was it. The whole place was a disaster area. There was a car wreck, like right outside when I was there, and all the employees rushed over there, and they were more interested in that than the employees. And then the guy tried to help me, and after trying it on a computer and an iPad and trying to enter my information manually and access and just tapping, and he's just like, well, you're probably better off just going home and calling 611 and they'll take care of you. I'm like, you're kidding me. He said, no, if I called him, it'd be the same thing. I'm like, I'm at an AT&T store with a phone I need to trade in, and you're telling me to go home and use the website? And he's like, yeah. So I did that, and I came home, And I used the website, and of course, the business website sucks, so I couldn't get what I want. Not in the combination or anything, of course. So I had to, go to a little support bubble, and I said, they said, would you like us to call you? I'm like, yeah, sure, right? So I put in my phone number. And so 2 seconds later, to their one credit, 2 seconds later, I get a phone call, and it comes up as spam risk. It literally comes up on my phone as spam risk. So it was a nightmare of 3.5 hours of ordering an iPhone 14 Pro Max, which we will review, which was my point, and a Apple Watch Ultra. So very cool stuff coming in to check out. And let's get back to the Web3 Metaverse. So Web3 Decentralized Metaverse. Is it coming? Are we here yet? No. Not by a long shot. I think that there are a lot of companies out there working, a lot of big companies out there working behind the scenes quietly, some working with governments, others that are waiting for things like CBDCs to drop that will completely change the game because they can. And that's the problem. I mean, in a situation where you have too big to fail in any given sector, that pushes out and crushes competition like some of the big boys do, quite often the best ideas don't rise to the top. So quite often you get solutions that make money for other people, or that, give you something decent, but not everything you want. And a lot of what those companies do is based, completely on greed. They want the pipes for themselves. They want the control for themselves, and they're putting those structures in place right now. Think Apple with the App Store. Apple has a Meta Store, right? They've been working on not just hardware and software, but every piece of the puzzle. And that's what you need to be successful. Just because you have a great idea, and I've experienced this personally in my life, just because you have a great idea and you work your ass off and you build a business and you do everything right, if you don't say have the money for marketing, you'll fail, because you have to have some. So you're going to have those situations where you're just going to work your butt off and fail because you don't understand what it is you're in. It's like small businesses with getting nickel and dime to death with software services and all the other things they have to use to do their business with. By the end of the day, they will wind up with too little profit to actually make it a viable business, because that's the way big businesses have set it up. They take too much out of you, and that's what we're going to try to minimize. And we do. We minimize it. We minimize it for ourselves and for others. So yeah, the metaverse real estate market, billions of dollars, or 1.8 billion actually, dollars. And let's do the metaverse wearables market. Oh, why are you not typing? Metaverse wearables. Market report. Oh, that's wearable technology. Sorry, my bad. Okay. Decentraland wearables. Wearable NFTs and its major applications in the metaverse. Again, too, there's not, there are mainstream publications, of course, covering all this stuff, like, Forbes and all that stuff. But as far as pure, metaverse, real strong stuff, a lot of stuff is written on Medium, but there's not a ton. There's not a ton of really solid stuff. Let's do this. Metaverse wearables market size. Metaverse market size worldwide. Let's see what the metaverse markets. Okay, all right, let's do a forecast here. I can't find wearables easily, so let's take it. So this is Fortune Business Insights. No idea who this is. Metaverse market size, share, and COVID-19 impact. This is an analysis by component and service, by device, social media, conferences, and others, and regional forecast. 2022 to 2029. Wow. So this must be a paid thing. North America metaverse market size 2018 to 2029. Okay. So by 2029, wow, there's a chart. I'll just put this on a t-shirt and walk around. 2020, the market for North American metaverse market size in 2020 is 33.67 billion. In 2021, it says it's 45.97 billion. And then you have this. So let's see. Let's say that's 50 billion, 51, 52, 53, 54. Half a trillion, somewhere around there, maybe. Let's see what they say. By 2023. Let's see. I hate that. You have to read that data. Look at that. Okay, so it says here, the media and entertainment USD 19 billion in 2020, and up here it says 33 billion. So which one's right? This is why I take numbers as kind of just, they're guesstimates. People are guessing. They're all guessing. They're all making it up. Okay. I mean, yeah, there's numbers and there's data and people are pulling from stuff and estimating, intelligently, but they're just still guesses. So, but you're talking about, if we look at this chart right here, you're looking at 50 billion in 2021. So 8 years later in 2029, you're looking at, a 10x, in revenue. In potential revenue. And I agree. I agree with that. The world is becoming digitized at a rapid pace. Digital twins will be the order of the day. Physical and digital items with their, physical items with their digital twins, DigiReal trademark, StreamCatcher. Those things will be absolutely huge, and they'll get more and more so as time goes on. So I have no problem necessarily with this chart and with the basics of the numbers. It could be 400 billion, it could be 500 billion, it could be 800 billion, but it's in the many billions moving forward, and it's just growing. So the growth of this sector, and a lot of this, remember, a lot of this right here is content creation, experiences, digital twins. If you are an artist and you are not into the metaverse and 3D and figuring out computer graphics on a different kind of level, get there, because that's where the money is. Moving forward for creators, that's where the money is going to be. To create and drive experiences, to do things between metaverses, to be able to handle file formats, textures, models, whatever the hell somebody throws at you. It's time to get real. Virtual. Okay. Rising adoption of advanced VR devices and blockchain to accelerate growth. Yeah, there's a rising demand for advanced VR devices globally. Yeah, give me an advanced one, please. Lack of awareness of service. Rising development of advanced software aids market growth. Rising online gaming. Yeah, I mean, that's, the gaming is a huge factor we haven't really talked about hardly at all. We, look at Ready Player One. We're gonna do a watch party on Ready Player One for our membership as soon as we have one. But we're gonna sit down and watch it all the way through quietly, and then we're gonna sit down and break it apart for a few hours, because that's not just a movie; it's kind of a blueprint and a roadmap. But look at the Oasis. I mean, look at what it is and what was required, at least in your imagination, to build it. Just tremendous amount of content that had to be generated. And yes, we have real-time LiDAR mapping, we have real-time texturing, we have AI art, we have all these things. But ultimately, a computer's just going to spit out a garbled mess of crap to you. If you want to use it in anything else, you actually have to take that, the images, the videos, whatever. You have to be able to massage them, compress them, bring them into 3D environments, use them as texture maps, any number of different things that you're going to have to become proficient at. Being an artist has been for a very long time, at least in the CG space, just as much about being a technician as it is about being an artist. And that's something that a lot of artists have a problem with. They have a problem with wrapping their mind around it or getting left brain enough. It is something that can be taught, absolutely, if you're into learning it. But a lot of the times where people say, I'm going to stop here. I'm good where I am. As long as you're making money, and doing what you want to do and you're happy and you don't need anything else, more power to you. But if you are in it for to create a further career for yourself or to quit a job that you hate or whatever it is, it's going to be the need to ramp up and the need to learn different things to be able to be valuable in the metaverse economy, if you want to call it that, is going to be demanded of you, because the AI art, like I said, the generators and all that stuff can spit out cool art and all this kind of stuff, but you can see most of it obviously needs stuff done to it. Even moving forward as it gets more complex and better, it's still going to require the human touch. It's going to require absolutely the human touch to bring it in beyond anything besides, raw data that's being output from a computer, whether that's images or models or anything else. The human component will hopefully always be desired, required, and needed. I don't see that changing anytime soon. Let's see, global metaverse market share by application 2021. Go here. Okay, so 2021, this is an interesting chart. And again, this is fortunebusinessinsights.com, so I don't know who they are, but I'm going to just assume that this information is semi-accurate. Let's see, where we go. That's fortunebusinessinsights.com. That's their particular statistics. So, okay, so let's see. Percentage-wise, it's split up. 10% is online shopping. The great bulk of it, majority of it, looks like at least 45% or so is gaming. Social media, of course, is a huge chunk, and then content creation is listed, which is interesting, and conferences and others. So that makes sense. North American metaverse market size 2021 in billion, so that says it's 45. There we go. Says it's 45.97 billion. Middle East and Africa, it's negligible. Europe, it's negligible. Asia Pacific and South America says it's negligible. Now, of course, this is just one chart, but you're getting the idea here that the Western market is where most of the traction is. So let's go ahead and just kind of end it. We roamed around, talked a lot of numbers. Again, this is kind of a more talk show format right now, getting our sea legs, working on different things, getting guests and things going. But it was a general good general good overview of, what I believe Web3 and Metaverse technologies are, where they are currently, some of the market numbers. A lot of excitement, a lot of exciting things going on. I truly believe that we're going to be in a renaissance of hardware and software in the next few years. Led by some major companies doing some major things. I think that in the next 6 months to a year, we're probably going to see some cool new Web 3D technologies come out. A lot of things are converging towards making some great opportunities for us as makers to make stuff. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the possibilities. I always try to look at the glasses half full, but I'm also very much a realist. So my final advice to you guys with all this, guys and gals, of course, ladies, thank you for tuning in. My final advice to everybody would be, don't focus on the buzzwords so much. And if you hear a buzzword, try and understand what it really means. If you hear acronyms, understand what they mean. Understand who's talking to you when they're telling you about something. What is their agenda? What is their vested interest? I have no particular vested interest or agenda in any kind of cryptocurrency, in any particular NFT or project or anything else. Right now, I'm out here as a technologist, as a futurist, learning, expanding my mind. We've been working for 2 years on our own project, of course, which is, we're still going full bore on that. We'll be building out the society. But we are taking our time and we are learning as we go, because things are changing under our feet, all of us, as we go along. So I hope to see you soon on the next show. We're going to be here on, what is today? Tuesday. We'll be here Thursday from 11 to 1, and we will be covering something cool. Find out on Twitter what it will be. And we hope to see you again real soon. We're going to have our website up very soon. We're going to have some contests going on. So just please bear with us as we get to installing some other gear, getting some Zoom and other inputs. They're hooked up, but I just need to figure them out, make sure that I don't look stupid when I get some guests online. And we're really excited about where we're going. We build one step at a time. We build slowly but surely. We are not in a rush. We don't worry about the boats that are coming into port because there's tons of boats coming after them. We are excited about what the metaverse and all these technologies can bring, but we are absolutely being realistic about it, and we don't want to be married to any one technology because any one technology can go away overnight. And we want to make sure that we're doing stuff that is the best for everything and everything in this space. And I think right now that means making sure people are held accountable, that we make sure as a community to weed out the bad guys and the people who are in this purely to rip people off and scam them. And we're going to actually probably do a security show real soon about some of the different things and organizations that have been out there ripping people off, and maybe even call some out by name. So again, thank you for joining us. I'm Chris with StreamCatcher Society, and I hope you have a great Tuesday and great rest of your week. We'll see you on Thursday. Take care. God bless.